Hi, and welcome to another edition of the McAnulty Method. We're here with financial expert Frank McAnulty, who's going to share his insights and knowledge with us so that we can live a more prosperous life. Frank, how are you?
Good, Bill. How are you?
I'm doing well. We got an interesting question that I'd love to hear you expound upon. And it was somebody wrote in wanting to know, what is the difference? What is the real cost of investing by yourself, like with some sort of Schwab account, or buying your own stocks, versus hiring someone, a wealth management professional, as they call them, or stockbrokers, as I used to know. So they want to know what are the true costs? What's the difference? Who should do what?
Yeah, it's a multi-layered answer, because the average wealth management person will tell you that studies have shown that people that use wealth management people earn on average 4% more per year than doing it themselves. Now, I haven't read those studies, but I've heard them state that fact. But over the weekend, I was driving along in the freeway, and usually on the weekends when I'm in the car, I turn on these wealth management people, listen to them, see what they're saying. And something struck me as interesting. They were talking about, well, if you invest with them and you make 8% a year, that's great. And they only charge 1 to 1.25%, 1.5% of your money. But being a numbers guy, all of a sudden I thought, wait a minute. If I'm making 8% and they're taking 1%, then I'm really paying them 12.5% of what I make each year. Because I made 8, they took 1. That's 1/8, 12.5%. And you never hear them say that. They always sell their services on the basis of, we're only going to charge you 1% of your assets. And quite honestly, for most people, it's 1.5% of your assets, because until you get well into the millions, you don't come down to that 1% or lower level. And so think about it. If it's 1.5% on 8%, they're taking, I don't know, almost 20%, 21% of what you earn each year for their fee.
Wow. I mean, even the classic Hollywood agent was always a 10%er.
Right, of your income. Now, I'm not saying that wealth management people don't have a very good use for the right people. And that may sound strange, and I'm not talking, well, if you have a finance or accounting degree, you should never hire one. No, because it's more to your psychological makeup, to how you would treat investments. If you could be disciplined, because what a financial advisor brings to you is discipline.
Okay.
And let's face it, a lot of us don't have discipline. We'll hear an idea from our friends that, that sounds really good. Let's go buy some stock. Right?
Yeah.
And we don't really have an idea of what's going to really happen. It's just sounded good. And the other thing is, a normal person, the average person, let's not call them normal, the average person tends to always believe that whatever stock they bought is going to go up, even if it goes down. We're talking goes down a lot, so it's, once again, do you have the discipline to say, okay, if I buy a stock, I've done my research, I buy this stock and it goes down from 20%, so from $100 to $80, that I will sell and admit I made a mistake and move on. Because a financial advisor will do that. That's their job, is to say, okay, we made a mistake. Let's move on.
It's funny, but immediately I started thinking of sports fans. You're going to back the home team no matter what. You always feel like they can come back and they can do it. Whereas the money guys in Vegas say, no, they can't.
Right.
They have point dog for a reason.
And that's, so once again, it's not your educational background as much, because anybody can teach themselves to research stocks. Anybody can look these things up. Anybody can read about the market. You can buy ETFs that just follow the market if you aren't worried about individual stocks. You can buy low-cost funds like we've talked about before through Vanguard and other firms like that that'll mirror the market. And you just say, well, I've heard the market goes up on average 12% a year over time. So if I just keep putting my money into the ETF that matches the Standard & Poor's 500, fine. I'll put in money each month. I'll just leave it there and let it go. Well, if you're happy with that and it can work very, very well for you, then there's no reason to have a wealth manager, because why give them part of your money if they're not really providing a good service?
Right. So, I mean, that's my feeling. If you're going to do that, it's very conservative. And I know people that their wealth management professionals recommend they have a big part of their assets in that. But there's always, if I got a professional, I want to get a big score. I want that inside information. I want some magic.
Well, you're not going to get that. Yeah, I've been seeing this ad, and I don't know how much truth it is, but it says something like one of the big banks pays billionaires 5% for their savings, and they pay you 0.25%. Now, let's face it, that's the way it works. If you're a huge customer of Citibank or something like that, then you're going to get on the good deals. If you're a regular person with a couple $1 million into your name, you're not getting in on the good deals. I mean, you've done very well. You're very comfortable, but you're not getting them.
You just made me sad, Frank, to hear that if I've only got a couple of $1 million in my name, I'm not getting any special consideration.
Well, no, not from the big banks, because you're not special to them. But it comes down to, once again, to a certain extent, are you willing to put in the effort to read about the market, to read about what's going on, to in some ways sit on your hands if you decide, okay, I'm just going to put $1,000 a month into this ETF, and I'm just going to let the market grow my money for the next 40 years. Great. There's no reason to hire somebody to do that for you, because what are they going to do? The same thing and charge you a fee? But if you need somebody to talk you off the ledge every now and then, like when COVID hit, everybody who panicked and sold when the market crashed when COVID hit probably kicked themselves a whole lot when the market just zoomed back up and they didn't know when to buy back in because they didn't know what was going to happen. And now it's higher than it ever was. So it's also gives people a sounding board. Somebody who's not as personally involved in your money as you are.
Right.
It's like dealing with your kids. You can talk to them till you're blue in the face, but somebody else who they're not kid of will tell them the same thing, and all of a sudden they listen to them. And
yeah.
So, like I said, a lot of it comes down to personality. You can be the world's best investor and never have gone to business school if you're willing to read and research and do your own work. And like I said, set up a plan that you've determined by reading and researching. Look, if something goes down 20%, you sell it. It's just not working. Now, one caveat: if the whole market goes down 20%, like when COVID hit, okay, that's not the stock going down, that's the market. And if you believe and the market's going to come back, leave it alone. And brokers help you, or wealth management people help you to manage that for those that do. So I believe there's a place for them, but there's also a place for people who can do it themselves.
Well, I've known several guys that they invest. It's almost like their hobby. You know, they approach it like other guys do fantasy football. So I'm not sure they make a lot of money, but they seem to have a lot of fun.
Well, and that's you know, I'm glad you bring that up because that's important too. So let's say you want to have fun. You're not that good at it, but you enjoy it. So then maybe you need to put, in that case, maybe it's best if you put 80% of your money with somebody or lock it up somewhere where you can't really play with it. And then you get to play with the 10 to 20% just because you like doing it. You like doing the research. You like trying. You're a do-it-yourself type of person. There's nothing wrong with that. It's you know, it's about, a lot of it's about the journey. It doesn't matter if you die with $5 million in the bank, you're still dead with $5 million in the bank. You're going to make somebody very happy. It's not doing you any good.
There you go.
The other thing is, I think, you know, another really good way to invest is try to form an investment club with people.
Okay.
Because they've shown, and especially you could, once again, you can research. You can look up good investment club rules. And a lot of times they have rules that keep you out of trouble. Like, we can't invest in companies that have a negative earnings. We can't invest in companies that have over a 50-to-1 PE ratio and things like that. And it's like a jury. When you get a bunch of people together and they're discussing things tend to go towards the middle. You just don't buy the wild, wacky stocks. You just don't go looking at the, you know, super safe stocks. People bring their ideas and you discuss them and you come up with something that's reasonable in the middle. And once again, 9 times out of 10, they seem to work fairly well because you have different opinions that are involved in the decisions.
And you have, and like you're saying, yeah, there are different opinions. There's a lot of different people. So it does mitigate any wild ideas you have or reluctance to sell when things are going bad.
And it also, like I said, you have to look up the successful investment clubs have good rules to follow, which would be somewhat similar to the rules that a wealth management person would follow. Hey, if we buy a stock and it goes down by X, we're going to sell it because it just didn't work. And, you know, so there's all sorts of ways to do it yourself if you feel comfortable and if you think you can have the discipline to follow the rules you set.
Well, that's it. Because I guess even if you're doing it by yourself, if you write out your own list of rules that you're going to follow, like you said, if I buy a stock and it goes down by 20%, I sell. Doesn't matter.
Right.
So it takes a little bit of that, the emotion out of it, and it's a little bit more analytical.
Right, because you're never going to pick 100% winners. It's just not going to happen. So accept the fact that you're going to pick losers. And, you know, there's other ways to get good information too. There's, you know, the Motley Fool Group, which has been around quite a while now. They're a stock advisory group, very large. You know, you can join their different newsletters for $99, $199. And they come out with recommendations once a month, twice a month, once every 2 months. And you can just follow them, use them as your wealth advisory group. They're telling you what to buy. And it's only costing you $199 a year.
There you go. I remember a story, I think Warren Buffett told it, that on his drive every morning, he went past some factory. And he said that over a few months, the factory kept getting bigger and looking better and seemed busier. And this continued for like, most of a year. And he finally said, okay, I'll find out what this company is and I'm going to buy stock in it because it's growing. It's going up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he did. It was, I think it was Legs, company that made, nylons for women.
Right.
Big containers. So I think he got in early on that and scored big. So it's like also paying attention to what you see and know.
Right. And that's a lot of times what with investment clubs, you tend to talk about stocks that people know. And you may not beat the market. I'm in an investment club. We're not beating the market, but we're real close to the market. And so, yeah, we could just put money in every 2 months or 3 months into the market, but it's more fun. We get together, we have meetings. Before COVID, everybody brings food and you eat and have a good time, pick some stocks and move on. And like I said, I've got the charts that shows we've done almost even with the market for the last 15 years.
Well, that's pretty good.
So how do you get, and so we've had losers, but we're getting better at selling the losers. We did have one loser that they rode all the way into the ground. And that's the key. You never want to ride your losers forever. Get rid of them. You made a mistake, move on. Don't kick yourself. Even Warren Buffett makes mistakes.
Yeah. And
when he does, he gets out of them. So I think that's the key there.
What is it? The mistakes are just part of learning.
They are. You learn very quickly. Why did I buy this? What went wrong? Was my analysis wrong, or just the market turned against it? Or who knows? You don't know until it happens. Now, the most dangerous person on earth is the person who tries something once and it works out fabulously well, because then they're convinced they're a genius and they'll never listen again.
Yep. And yeah, I know a number of those people.
Yeah.
Well, so this was very interesting, Frank. All right, so it really, whether or not you hire a wealth management professional, or as I like to call them, stockbrokers, or an investment house, or do it yourself, I think you make a great point. A lot of it depends on your own personality and your ability to handle disappointment and risk.
Well, I'd almost say if you think that no one could do it better than you, you should probably hire a wealth management person. Because you'll never sell a loser, and you'll be convinced that whatever you do is perfect.
I think, you know what? I don't think advice gets better than that. So I think we'll end it on there today, Frank. And thanks a lot, and look forward to the next one.
Well, I think next time, Bill, we should talk about what happens if you want to go out and start your own business, and not that it's fabulously successful, but what happens if it doesn't go well?
Oh boy.
When do you know when should you pull the plug so you don't ruin your financial life?
Wow, that sounds like a great topic, because I know there's an awful lot of people having their own business is their dream.
Right.
So, yeah, I look forward to that.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
See you next week.
You got it, Frank. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.